Greetings, my fellow hunters, and welcome again. Today I have a special announcement to make. For October, I will be having a Halloween special where I review 4 different anime. And starting off this week, I'll be hunting some vile bloods, also known as vampires, in this series called Vampireknight. So, my hunters, let the vile blood hunt begin! So, because Vampireknight has 2 seasons, Vampireknight and Vampire Guilty, I'll be talking about them separately. So first up, we'll be talking about Vampire Season 1. So Vampireknight is set in a school called Cross Academy, a school where vampires and humans mingle. Now, not in the sense that they go to the same school at the same time. Well, they go to the same school, but not at the same time. The classes are separate from the day class and the night class, which you can guess the day class are for the normal humans, and the night class are the vampires, which I have a bit of an issue, because wouldn't it be odd that there are 2 separate classes, and one's for night students that we would think would pick up as vampires, but I guess, And it is down to 2 characters, Yuki and Zero, to keep the peace between the vampires and the humans, and to make sure that the vampires aren't found out by the normal humans, otherwise chaos can ensue, and also deal with a secret force that's trying to undermine the very peace and unity that Cross Academy has set up, as there's an underlying force to destroy it. It's a really simple story, and it's hard for me to say. It's simple enough that anybody could easily pick it up, but at the same time, it really has a bit of an issue of, are you seriously, no one has figured out that the night class are vampires? Seriously, they go to school at night, not during the day with the other students where you think they could mingle. And it's not the issue that the vampires can't go out in the day, because they can. It's this Twilight issue where vampires can go out in the day. Well, at least they don't sparkle. Be grateful for that. None I've noticed anyway. But seriously, it's like, you guys haven't noticed that, they are separate classes, one for day, one for night, and couldn't they have mingled with each other? I'm sure since they can go out during the day, sleeping at night shouldn't be too much of an issue, but how do I know? It's really confusing, but nonetheless, that's the story of Vampire Season 1. So as well as in Vampire 1, where they had to deal with protecting the school, in Vampireknight Season 2, it was more about the character Yuki and her origins, understanding where she came from, what her past was about, what mysteries were hiding, and the conspiracies continue on, though, as there is another force wishing to destroy this peace that the school created, but this time it's far more vile and dark. Far darker than anything I've faced as my time as a hunter. It actually brings up a lot of questions and lores in the series, such as what are vampire purebloods, how they work, their inner workings of society, as well as some questionable things that I cannot repeat here, but it does, I'd say, a better job of, understanding how our characters work on a personal level, as there are more conflicts with each other about their past, the future, what will hold for them, as well as many other things. And I do feel like it's a tiny bit stronger than the first season, but not by much. Man, this series really isn't impressive, but let's see if the animation can actually change that for me. Unfortunately, the animation... How do I put this? The animation is really, really basic, and not in a good way, say like Miss Kobayashi, where it had actually colorful and expressive artwork. For the most part, the animation really feels stiff. And yes, it's an early 2000s anime, but there are a lot of other 2000s anime that actually aren't so stiff and actually have better animation at times. But it's not that bad. It's not the worst I've seen, and I have seen bad animation. But I feel like it doesn't really try anything. It's just basic. There are a few moments, like when they use the weapons, but overall, it's just really basic. And it can really feel like, yeah, they didn't really put much time and effort in the animation, but it doesn't look bad. It's just basic and clean. There's no bright colors. It's always dull. Nothing pops, basically. Now, that could be because of the atmosphere it wanted to be, but it actually doesn't stick out. And I do kind of forget the animation's locations at times. So, unfortunately, the animation really is not that good. There will be 3 main characters I'll be talking about. Kaname, Yuki, and Zero. Those 3 are the main protagonists where the story rolls around them. And so we will be starting off with the female protagonist, Yuki. Yuki is what I would call the naive character in the series. She wholeheartedly believes that it is possible for vampires, or vilebloods, and humans to be able to coexist despite the difference in how they work, their society, how long they live, and basically strength and agility and whatnot. The differences don't matter, that there should be a peaceful cooperation between the two groups, even though they are very different. Yuki is naive at times, kind-hearted to a fault. She is caring to her friends and other people, though she does have a bit of a tendency to misunderstand things or get nervous around her crush, Kaname, or Zero, because this story is a love triangle between the other two characters, which makes things complicated and interesting at the same time. On the complete other end of that spectrum, we have Zero Kiryu. Now, you see, Zero is a vampire hunter who was bitten by a vampire, a pure-blooded vampire, and is on the cusp of turning into a vampire. Yes, I said vampire a lot. But basically, due to the fact that a vampire slaughtered his entire family, he has hatred and distrust to those beasts. And frankly, I don't blame him. And because of that, he is in constant conflict with Kaname, who is Yuki's lover, because she has feelings for him and Kaname, so it's a love triangle like I said before. Makes it difficult because he loves Yuki, but she also loves a creature that he despises, which I'd say is an interesting dynamic, having a person love the person you hate. But Zero is just a cold character. He doesn't have any warmth to him. Even his other friends say that he's a bit difficult and scary to work with, at how cruel and cold he is. Sounds like a guy I could work with. But still, he is decently strong, and he is a good contrast to Yuki's naivety, as he has experienced the dark side of vampires and understands that they can't be fully trusted. My sort of guy, after all. But still, Kaname is a love rival nonetheless. The final character we will be talking about is Kaname. Now, Kaname is, I think, further away from Zero, as Kaname is the quiet but stoic type. He is the sort of character you don't want to mess with, because underneath that calm demeanor lies a powerful enemy. You see, Kaname is what is known as a pure-blooded vampire, a vampire that has no human ancestors and is considered the purest of the pure, and the most powerful, as normal vampires cannot defy purebloods, cannot attack them or harm them. Basically one and the same, so I don't know why I brought it up. But still, Kaname is a quiet character, like I said, and he cares deeply for Yuki, and in the beginning of the series, we don't know why, until the second season, when it's revealed that certain things happen, which I'm not going to spoil, hence why he was so protective of her. It was an interesting twist, a twist that I wish was handled better, but this isn't the story, this is the character. Overall, yeah, Kaname is the quiet stoic type, and someone you really, really don't want to mess with. So my overall thoughts on the characters? They could be better, but they could have been worse. In the sense that, yeah, they're boring and uninteresting, but at least they're not offensive like a certain other series I'm not going to mention. But they they do work well off each other. You know, Zero's hating the vampires. Yuki loves Kaname and Zero, but she's torn between the two of them. And Kaname loves Yuki for reasons that I shall not disclose here, because A, it's gross, B, it's spoilers. But overall, they're fine. I really wish they were better, but they could have been worse. But I feel like middle of the road is neither good nor bad, because they're boring. That's all I can say. The music, on the other hand, is completely boring. And frankly, that's as nice as I can say it. Because outside a few tracks like the opening and maybe the ending for the first two seasons, everything else is forgettable. Even though it has a nice orchestric sound to it with a few, I think, violins and organs, it just feels so bland. And that's worse. If it was bad, I would be able to note it more. But if it's boring, what can I talk about it if it's just going to pass over everyone's head the minute they finish watching it? I can barely remember any tracks from the series that left an impact on me. Well, maybe one when it's more for the dread moments, but that's more just because it plays over and over again, because there's a dread moment in every single episode. So, it's so boring that it's so painful, and I didn't think it was even possible. Overall, my thoughts are mostly negative. As much as I did say a few good things, it's not worth watching this series because you can have other vampire series. Heck, I'd recommend watch Hellsing, Castlevania. Those would be better. But you know what this series reminds me of? Twilight. It's all there. The characters, the philosophical discussion of the supposed sin of dating a vampire, or the fact that is it moral for a human to date a vampire or love a vampire. It's all there. It tries to be grand, but it fails completely flat. And I think that's horrible, because if it was bad, I'd be able to laugh at it or enjoy it with some friends, but this is so boring and unoffensive that I can even muster much more anger than this to complain about it. So yes, if I'm going to recommend this, don't go watch Hellsing or Hellsing Ultimate, or please watch Castlevania because it has good vampires and actually has some action-packed scenes. Anyway, my fellow hunters, thank you for watching this review. Links to my Twitter and Discord down below. And as always, may the good blood guide your way.